Hey Manic Fam! Happy Batman Day if you are watching this on September 23rd, the day that I am posting it. Today we're gonna celebrate with a little Harley Quinn armor. Hope you're having a good Batman Day and you're gonna celebrate with some other Batman related stuff too. I am so sorry it's been a few weeks. I had a lot of life things happen to me that I just needed to put my attention into, so I really didn't have time to vlog. For example, this space. This is my new apartment. Pretty wild. It's more than that, but that's all that's coming to me off the top of my head because I haven't vlogged in a while and I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not wearing makeup today. That's because I am making a plaster cast of my face. Probably not what you expected me to say, but that's what's happening. And I don't want to put makeup on just to take it off to do that. Really quick before we get into the actual work log, I did just want to address a few things about my Harley Quinn cosplay because a lot of people have been asking me questions about it. The first is, the goal is to have her done for KatsuCon 2018. I don't have a set deadline for her, but that's like what I hope to do. People have also been wondering what my full design looks like, and I'm sorry guys, you're not gonna see that because you're not. I want it to be a surprise when the whole thing is done, so you're gonna see it piece by piece. Sorry, get used to it. But anyway, I am really excited to be cosplaying Harley, and I did just want to ask you, I can't film all of the making of this costume because I've already made some of the costume and I definitely didn't film it. But I did film the entire process for my hip guards, and I was wondering if you just wanted to like see me film the rest of my armor making or what? Because I feel like armor making could get a little redundant, but if you guys want to see it, I did want to try filming more of one costume than just like a section of it. A lot of people have been asking me to film more than just one part of a thing. So just please let me know if you want to see more of this costume and I will get to that. So yeah, let's actually get to the work log now. So voiceover Mad Dog is gonna take over from here. Alright kiddos, voiceover Mad Dog is making a comeback. So the first thing that I did for the making of this armor was make a pattern. And I did that by taking a sheet of oak tag, or essentially manila paper, and holding it up to my hips and drawing the shape that I wanted the final armor to be onto the oak tag. I then refined the drawing that I made by going back over it with all of my detail lines and just made sure that everything was nice and clean and not just the squiggles that I drew on my hips. And then when that was done, I just cut out the manila paper and voila, that was my pattern. After that, the next thing I did was cut out my pattern in craft foam. I laid out all the manila pieces onto the craft foam and just traced around them, and that's how I cut them out. Pretty simple, a little tedious. The whole cutting stages are just a little tedious. The next thing I did was cut out 2 pieces of Warbler per pattern piece. I did that in the way where I used one piece that looked identical to the original pattern piece, and I did the other that was a mirror of that, so that I could sandwich the craft foam in between 2 pieces of Warbler. That would end up making the full piece. One thing I want to note is when I did cut out my Warbler pieces, I did give it an extra kind of seam allowance, and that's really important, so if you ever make armor, don't forget about that step if you're using the sandwiching technique. When all that tedious cutting is done, all you want to do is take your heat gun and heat up that Warbler and sandwich away. And to get the smooth edge without all that extra seam allowance, you want to just trim that right off as close as you can to the craft foam without cutting into the craft foam. The next thing I did was I made all of the trim and like little detail lines on my armor. I did that by taking a ton of Warbler scraps and heating them all up to make these long kind of tubes, which I then pinched to make little triangles. I kind of burned my hands a lot doing that, but I really liked how raised the edge was. I thought it worked really well for Harley. But yeah, once those little rigid triangle tube things were made, I attached them to the Warbler by heating up the edge of the Warbler and the tube and laying it across the surface. You do this for a long time to get all the details you want. After all that was done, I did what I think the most interesting detail on my hip guards are, and that is the Thibra skull. Clearly, it's made out of Thibra, which is also thermoplastic, but it's not at all like Warbler. I would describe it less of like a thermoplastic and more like a thermoclay, and as a sculpture minor, that made me really happy to use. In this section, you'll just see me fiddling around with the Thibra, making a skull with my sculpting tools. After all this like tedious cutting and sandwiching and making the trim and all that was done, I then sprayed my 3 main pieces with a layer of automotive spray filler. That helped to remove all the bumpy texture of the Warbler, and if that didn't help, I also sanded it down, so that really got rid of that texture. And when I was done sanding, it was time to paint. Probably should have primed it, but I didn't. I just used the filler as a primer. But yeah, I did the painting by creating a dark base for the piece. So for the red, I used a really dark red that would be used for all my shadows. For the black, I used a solid Mars black for the shadows. And I covered the whole piece in that, and then I painted the highlights on afterwards. After all those highlights were done, I painted the trim, which I did the darkest shade once again, and then I did the highlights a little differently. I only did the ridge of the trim a highlight. I didn't blend it in so much like I did for the base of the armor. And although you can't see it here, I swear I did it and it looks really cool in real life. After that, it was time to make my 3 pieces, which I had made out of my pattern, to the overall piece, which is like all the pattern pieces put together. And I did that by using excess Thibra that I had and some contact cement. After that, I made my belt loops, which is how I attached it to my belt. Although I wouldn't recommend doing that after you've painted everything. I realized that I really just shouldn't have done that after I painted when I was doing it, when I was in the process of making them. And I made those belt loops by making a belt loop shape out of Warbler and then inserting it into the Warbler back. And I was able to put those into the back by reheating the Warbler and cutting these little lines open with a utility knife. And then once that's done, I just fed the belt through the belt loops and I was done. Voila! Hip guards. Heck yeah! And I'm really excited about how they came out. I think that they lay on my body pretty nicely, and I think they're gonna work with the overall look of my armor pretty dang well. And I can't wait to show you more, but I think that's all for now. So yeah, just remember all the things I said at the beginning of the video. If you have any input, totally let me know. If you want to see more of these types of videos and you haven't like subscribed, totally do that. Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it for now, Manic Fam. Happy Batman Day! Ah!